Reverend Dr. Ty McMillan. It's the Life Impact Training Center. This has to be one of the most important classes that I've ever taught, and this is a valuable course within our training program because as a minister, you will at some point in your ministry get called to go to do hospital ministry, healthcare ministry. You will get called to do. You will have somebody call you, or maybe it may be a family member or a friend that's in the hospital and you want to go and visit. I'm going to teach you how you can have an effective, anointed hospital visitation, and ministry. And this is the first of many classes on this topic. Future classes, we're going to discuss spiritual assessments, how to do a spiritual assessment with the healthcare patient. And when I mean healthcare, I'm talking about hospitals, hospices. You may even get called to go to the prisons and doing in the prison hospitals, the different rehab centers, any type of healthcare ministry. You can use this assessment. This assessment comes from years of ministry. I've been a chaplain for over 13 years. I started out doing what's called clinical pastoral education, and I have 4 units that consisted of a CPE internship, and I also did a healthcare residency. And after I finished my residency at a level 1 trauma center, I began my career in hospice. And I've worked at several hospices over the last couple of years, and I currently work full-time as a hospice chaplain, and I work part-time as a hospital chaplain. So this assessment that we're going to learn in this class will be useful, will be tremendous for your ministry. I wish I had this when I started my healthcare clinical ministry. So we're going to start off. There's a worksheet. You can take that worksheet, fill in the blanks, follow along, and you can use this worksheet and take this worksheet with you when you're doing visitations. So first rule of thumb, you can add this to your notes. Whenever I go and visit a patient, my mindset is 15 minutes. 15 minutes. I'm not locked into those 15 minutes. But my mindset is 15 minutes. The reason being is that you'll have patients who may be tired. They may be sleepy. So you want to get short and to the point. You may have patients and some staff in that hospital will let you go in and do your ministry, but they may want to provide care for the patient. So there's several reasons why that 15-minute mark is important. Now, you can have an awesome visit. God can move in that visit. You may be with a patient for an hour, for 2 hours, but your mindset is 15 minutes, and you can go through this assessment within 15 minutes. You can have a short, sweet visitation. So number one, you want to assess. There's different assessments, 8 different assessments that you want to assess when you go to the bedside of a patient. And also when you're going to the hospitals, practice universal precautions. Depending on the room and the patients, you may have to wear gloves, you have to wear masks. Now COVID is going back up in the hospital, so you may have to wear masks. So all depends on the situation, but always practice what we call universal precautions. Wash your hands. Practice universal precautions. Number one, when you go to the bedside of a hospital patient, and this is just the beginning. We're going to go more into spiritual assessments and future classes, but I just want to give you the basis of the foundational assessment that I do, and this will help you. Number one, you want to assess, number one, the physical well-being. That's the first feeling, the physical well-being. So I'm asking the patient, after I introduce myself and my goal for being there at their bedside, I would ask them, how would you rate your current pain level on a scale of 1 to 10? And that is important because I can take that information back to the nursing staff so they can give that patient medication if they're in pain. So I would ask them, how would you rate your current pain level. Then I would also ask, are you experiencing at this point any discomfort or specific symptoms? So I'm doing a physical well-being. That's the first feeling, physical well-being. I'm assessing, first of all, before we go any further, I'm assessing their physical well-being. Number two, not only am I assessing their physical well-being, but I'm also assessing their emotional well-being. How are they doing emotionally? So I'm asking questions like this. How have you been feeling emotionally during your time in the hospital? Can you imagine you don't wake up saying, I'm going to spend the day in the ICU, or I'm going to spend the day in the hospital, or I'm going to spend hours in the emergency room. You don't wake up and say that. Things happen. Life happens. Unexpected things happen. So, range of emotions are going on. So we want to understand where they're coming from emotionally, where they're at emotionally, so we can better support them. So I'm asking them, how have you been feeling emotionally during your time in the hospital? Then I'm also asking, is there anything specific on your mind that you like to discuss? One of the things that I've learned early in my hospital ministry, and the mistakes that I see people, even pastors, coming in and make, they come in and want to force their agenda on the patient. And some of you know me, I'm a stone cold evangelist. I'm a stone cold street evangelist. However, when I walk into that healthcare ministry, our God is an awesome God. God will give us creative ways to share our faith. So I want to allow the patient to dictate where we're going to go in the beginning. So I'm going to ask him, is there anything specifically that you want to discuss? Meaning, you may walk in with an agenda that I'm going to talk about the Bible. Maybe the patient is not in the mood to talk about the Bible, and that's okay, because we want to build rapport. We want to see what he wants to talk about or she wants to talk about. Maybe it's the unknown of their condition. They're waiting for tests to come back. They're worried about their children at home. They're worried about the job, the days that they have to miss by being in the hospital. Those are legitimate needs. So we have to address that in the beginning. So we want to assess their emotional well-being. Number three. So first we want to assess their physical well-being. Number two, we want to assess their emotional well-being. Number three, we want to assess their their social support. We want to assess their social support. So I'm asking questions like this. Do you have any family or friends involved in your support system during your hospital stay? This is significant because can you imagine you being in the hospital and you have nobody that has your back, nobody you can call, nobody is coming to bedside to visit? I've had several patients who are by themselves, alone, have that fear. So we have to know what type of support system is in place during their hospital stay. Do they have spouses? Do they have children? Do they have people that's visiting them, that's caring for them? Another question I would ask is, how has your social support impacted your well-being? I remember one time I went to minister to a young lady who was in the hospital, and she had a serious situation going on, but she was more concerned about the hostility with her boyfriend. She was more concerned, that weighed on her mind, the hostility that was going on with her boyfriend, the drama that was going on in that relationship. So somebody's social support, if it's impacting their emotional well-being, it can impact also their care. It can also impact their care. So we have to find out, because this is important. We're part of the healthcare team. And let me take a little commercial break. When you're coming into that hospital or that place where you're visiting patients, you may not technically be an employee there, but you walking in as an honorary member of that team. So if there's something in that visit that you hear that's significant, you have to go back and give report to that nurse, that doctor, that social worker, because we're all working as part of a team in Jesus' name. So a person's just like our social support is important to us. Can you imagine you're in the hospital? You're in the hospital. The social support is important. It can impact the emotional well-being. So number one, we're assessing the physical well-being. Number two, we're assessing the emotional well-being. Number three, we're assessing social support. Number four, what I like to assess is their coping strategies. That's the next fill-in right there. Their coping strategies. So I'm asking questions like this. What strategies or activities help you cope with stress and anxiety? I need to know that. I need to know what strategies. What do you do when you're going through stress and anxiety? Can you imagine you're in the hospital, you were in a car accident, or you broke a limb. You're in the hospital. That's very stressful. You have a lot of things on your mind, a lot of anxiety on your mind. So, and each of us, we cope with things in a different way. So I'm at bedside, I'm asking our dear patient, what helps you cope with stress or anxiety? And another question I'm asking is, are there any specific coping mechanisms you might find particularly effective? I'm asking, are there any particular mechanisms? Is there anything that you do that you find effective, especially being in this hospital? You're trying to get a good night's sleep at the hospital, and you have people come in the middle of the night, waking you up, drawing blood, waking you up. You can't sleep. And not only that, some patients don't like the food in these places. So there's a lot of dynamics. So you may ask the question, Reverend Ty, we're supposed to be talking about, ministering to the sick. We're supposed to be talking about preaching the gospel stuff. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Stay tuned. Because I got several spiritual assessments that I'm going to give to you that you can use, but we have to build a foundation. Your ministry would be more effective if the person knows that you're at bedside and that you care about how they're doing physically, how they're coping, how they're doing emotionally. So, assessing their coping strategy. So, number one, you're assessing their physical well-being. Number two, you're assessing their emotional well-being. Number three, you're assessing their spiritual support. Number four, you're assessing their coping strategies. But number five, the next fill-in is you're assessing their communication and understanding of their situation, the communication and the understanding of their situation. So I'm asking questions like this. How would you rate your understanding of your current medical condition and treatment plan? Like, what's your thoughts about the treatment that you're receiving? So I'm asking questions like that. Like, I'm trying to find out what their understanding is. And I would also ask them, is there any information you feel you need more clarity on? Because you're in the hospital, you don't know what's going on. You're receiving information. You really don't understand what the information is. And also, I work at the hospital, heavy Hispanic population. So they may not understand. They may speak English, but not understand the quote-unquote medical jargon. So you act as the hospital minister. Or if you're interested in chaplaincy ministry, you act as the go-between. You act as that patient spokesperson. If they don't understand the type of treatment they're getting, you're supposed to go and relay that to the staff, and either, and you accompany the staff. And another thing, another note, you add this. You do not give medical information. Let me share some stories with you. I worked with several traumas, and a trauma will come in, or what we call a critical response will come in, cardiac arrest, things of that nature. Family comes in, I escort them back to, we have a family waiting room in the trauma department, the emergency department. So I would already, most times, know the situation. The person, even times where I know that their loved one had passed, I'm going into that room and providing support. I'm not going to tell them that that's not my position. The position is the doctors, the staff comes in and give them the medical information. Our job there is to provide that spiritual and that emotional support. So if people ask you for medical information, your job is to say, I don't have that information. I'm going to allow the doctors to come in, the nurse to come in and talk to you about all things medical. That's vitally important, because you can mess around and give somebody some medical information that may not be accurate, and it can come back on you. So leave all the medical to those who get paid medical money in Jesus' name. You're there. So if you encounter a patient, they don't understand what's going on. So your job is to go to that nursing station, tell them the situation. You know, John and Jane, they don't know what's going on. They need a little bit more clarity. And can we facilitate that? And you can be right there with them. So you're their spokesperson. So number one, you're assessing physical well-being. Number two, you're assessing emotional well-being. Number three, you're assessing social support. Number four, you're assessing coping strategies. Number five, you're assessing their communication and understanding. Number six, another assessment that I do is their future concerns. That's the fill-in right there. Future concerns. So I'm asking questions like this. Are there any concerns or fears you have about the future regarding your health? We have to ask the person laying in that bed, what are your thoughts about when you leave the hospital and going home? What are your thoughts about your recovery? What are your thoughts? Do you have any concerns? You'll have somebody come in, car accident, and injury to the spine. They're getting told they're going to need months of rehab. Concerns is, what about my employment? What about my job, my income, my health? Am I ever going to walk again? So we have to ask them, do they have any concerns or fears? And another question I ask is, how do you envision managing your health post-hospitalization? How would you manage? You see, this is dear to my heart. When I'm giving to you, it's from years and years of experience and still on the front line. These assessments are powerful. So I would ask them, how do you envision managing your health post-hospitalization? When you go home, what are your thoughts about managing your health, your health condition? So I asked them about their future concerns. So number one is the physical well-being I'm assessing. Number two, I'm assessing their emotional well-being. Number three, I'm assessing the social support. Number four, I'm assessing their coping strategies. Number five, I'm assessing their communication and understanding. Number six, I'm assessing future concerns. Number seven, I'm assessing here's the fill-in, their quality of life. I'm assessing their quality of life. I'm asking questions like, how has your hospital stay affected your overall quality of life? How has your hospital stay affected your overall quality of life? I'm asking them if they've been in the hospital for a prolonged period of time. How has it affected your family relationships? How has it affected your job? How has it affected your mental health? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Another question I would ask is, are there aspects you feel could be improved to enhance your well-being? So you, as the minister, you are the advocate. Whether you're there for 15 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes, you are the advocate. So if they have any concerns, your job is to validate those concerns and take that back to the appropriate staff and let them know the patient's concerns and come up and follow up. I'm real big on follow-up. I'm big into game plans, not just reporting it, but hey, what's the game plan so we can make this patient more comfortable? Because picture when you're doing healthcare ministry, whether you're in a hospital, you're in a rehab center, dialysis, wherever you're at, hospice, wherever you're at. When you come to that bedside, picture your mother in that bed. Picture your father in that bed. Picture somebody that you love dearly in that bed. Picture yourself in that bed and advocate as if that's your loved one, or how you would want somebody to advocate for you. So I would ask them, are there aspects you feel could be improved to enhance your well-being? You can take this assessment, take this sheet, take it with you, tape it in your Bible, take it with you, because you're going to get called to go to the hospital to do ministry. You may even get called to go to a home to do ministry. This is how you can make your visit productive, so you can find out what's going on with them physically, emotionally, and spiritually. We're going to really go in future videos. Stay tuned, please. I'm going to teach you, I'm going to show you how to do spiritual assessments and the different models of spiritual assessments out there. But this is just the foundation. This is just to open the door for that spiritual assessment. So the quality of life. So number one, we're assessing their physical well-being. Number two, we're assessing their emotional well-being. Number three, we're assessing the social support. Number four, we're assessing coping strategies. Number five, we're assessing communication and understanding. Number six, we're assessing their future concerns. Number seven, we're assessing their quality of life. And eighth and finally, we're assessing what I call, here's the fill-in, patient preferences. Patient preferences. So I would ask questions like this. Do you have any specific preferences regarding your care or daily routine in the hospital? Now, mind you, you may be, when you're visiting a patient, maybe different categories. You see, you may just be a minister representing your church. You may know the person. I work as a healthcare professional, clinical healthcare chaplain. So I got to minister to not only those who are Christians, but I got to minister to atheists, Muslims, those from different faiths. So I'm going to find out. I have to find out what their faith is and what their preferences is on how they want to receive care in the hospital. So that is effective. Do you have any specific preferences regarding your care or daily routine here in the hospital? And then I will ask another question. Are there any activities or routines that bring you comfort and would like to incorporate during your stay? And this is an important question, because picture somebody in the hospital. They've been uprooted from their life. Their life has been interrupted. Interrupted. So there may be activities they would like to do, whether it's watching television, playing cards, doing whatever. Any activities that would bring them comfort during their hospital stay. So that's something that we have to find out. So I call this a holistic assessment. And I'm going to recap. Number one, when you're going to that hospital room, number one, your mindset. And in 15 minutes, you might not get through all of these questions, which is fine. But you want to do some type of assessment. So you have to do some type of assessment. So these 8 assessment points, I want you to carry this with you in your hospital ministry. You want to assess their physical well-being. You want to assess their emotional well-being. You want to assess their spiritual support. You want to assess their coping strategies. 5, you want to assess their communication and understanding of their condition. Number 6, you want to assess their future concerns. Number 7, you want to assess their quality of life. And number 8, you want to assess patient preferences. I pray that this class is a blessing to you in your hospital, ministry. Healthcare ministry is awesome. It's just another venue to be there for those who are going through trauma and going through pain in their lives. So this assessment will help you, and be on the lookout. We're going to have classes on different spiritual assessments. So after you go through this assessment, the foundation, and then that's going to open up the door for you to assess their faith and where they're at, and ways in healthcare on how you can share the gospel. This is Reverend Dr. Ty McMillan. This is the Life Impact Training Center. We're here to educate, equip, and empower you. God bless.